It's finally here. The Super Mario Galaxy movie has finally hit theaters. In this video, I'm going to talk about as many aspects of the movie as possible and share my thoughts on what worked and what didn't. Obviously, there's going to be tons of spoilers in this video, so if you haven't already seen the movie, I'd highly recommend saving this video for later and coming back after you've watched the movie. Whether you've played Galaxy or not, this is a must-see movie for any kind of Mario fan. This video won't be as long as my review for the first movie, mainly because a lot of the things I talked about in that video are still applicable here. I also won't be showing any footage of the movie itself because in the past I've had issues with Universal blocking my videos when I've shown any clips whatsoever. Lastly, if there's something specific you want to hear me talk about, you can skip ahead using the chapters feature. With that said, grab your Starbits and let's blast off into this movie. The first thing I'll talk about is the lead up to the movie itself. I think we were all shocked when Nintendo revealed the sequel to the first movie was going to be based on Mario Galaxy. Many of us thought Galaxy would be the plot of the third or even fourth movie, so it was quite a surprise to see Nintendo jump straight to Galaxy. But when you think about it, it makes a lot of sense. The two characters that made the most sense to introduce in a sequel were Yoshi and Bowser Jr. These two characters appeared together in several games, but the most notable ones are Mario Sunshine and Mario Galaxy. I think we can all agree a Mario Sunshine movie would have been a weird direction to go. Sunshine's a great game and all, but I don't think it'd work well as a movie. There's far less characters to work with, the plot is way less cinematic, and it wouldn't feel like a step up from the first movie. I think Nintendo made the right call going with Galaxy. That way they can introduce both Yoshi and Bowser Jr. while also throwing Rosalina into the mix. Galaxy is also a great adaptation for progressing the character arcs of the existing crew. All things considered, I'd say the majority of fans were ecstatic at the announcement of this movie. As the release of this movie got closer, we saw many clips through trailers, TV spots, and promotions. I won't discuss everything since the things revealed to us were through pretty standard trailers, but I will say that many fans were worried that almost the entire movie had been spoiled for us. Nintendo definitely gave away a lot of surprises for this movie, which was a little disappointing, but there was still more than enough waiting for us in the theater. Specifically, I think they should have kept Star Fox hidden, but part of me thinks they only revealed him because of us hyper-analyzing this one clip to figure out that this was his leg. Nintendo fans really are a different breed. This was a fear for both this and the first movie, and while I'd like to see them keep more things hidden for the third movie leading up to its release, I didn't come out of either of these movies feeling like I had everything pieced together from the trailers. Despite how many clips they showed us, the overall plot still had some mystery to it, which was nice. The other fear people had going into this movie was that it didn't seem to be as focused on Galaxy as it should have been. I mean, in the first few trailers, we saw more clips of them in Mario Odyssey locations than we did Galaxy. I think they were just trying to keep the Galaxy clips as more of a surprise, but it was a little weird how much they showed us of Fossil Falls and Toast Arena Town. I felt like the movie did a great job keeping Galaxy as the main focus while having a healthy mix of other Mario references, but I understood everyone's concern. Now that we've covered most of the stuff leading up to the movie, I'll share some of my main thoughts about the movie itself. I'm gonna assume you've already seen the movie if you're watching this video, so I'm not gonna give a recap or anything like that. For starters, I thought this movie's opening scene was really well done. The battle between Rosalina and Bowser Jr. was super cool. I love when movies have these kinds of cold opens because it really sets the tone for what's ahead. I also like how the movie doesn't waste any time getting the plot moving. The very next scene is Mario and Luigi discovering Yoshi and bringing him back for Peach's birthday / the Star Festival. This movie also placed a much heavier focus on the romantic tension between Mario and Peach by having Mario get Peach a gift, which then prompts Luigi to imply Mario has feelings for the princess. Mario denies it, but it's fairly obvious he likes her. He does of course admit to it later when he, Luigi, and Yoshi are on the way to Gateway Galaxy, but that's as far as the movie goes with this. It's probably something Nintendo's gonna come back to in a future film. The scene where Mario gives Peach the parasol was also really heartwarming. Right before this, Peach was talking about how she doesn't really know where she came from and how upsetting that is. She doesn't even know when her actual birthday is. If only this movie provided an answer to these questions. Anyway, jumping ahead a bit to when Bowser Jr. abducts Peach's castle, I thought this was a fantastic callback to Galaxy 1. The scene feels really cinematic, and I also loved the fight sequence between Bowser Jr. and the heroes. It was incredibly well done. The movie also handles Bowser Jr.'s backstory very well. While saying he's just been at boarding school is kinda lazy, I think it works well because it explains why he wasn't in the first movie in a simple way that doesn't overcomplicate anything. As the movie cuts back to Peach and Toad in Gateway Galaxy, There's a lot to talk about here. For starters, it's really cool seeing this many iconic Mario NPCs here, including Yukiki, who does his normal Yukiki things by stealing Toad's backpack. The way he leads Peach and Toad to Wart's casino is really cool as well. It's a really unexpected nod to the Minus World glitch from the first Super Mario Bros. As Yukiki phases through a blue brick wall to get to the casino. You can even see Minus World in the background after Peach and Toad phase through it as well. I wasn't sure how to feel about Wart's return in this movie since it felt a little random, but I think he felt really at home here. The entire scene feels very Galaxy encoded, with all the wacky gravity working to Peach and Toad's advantage while fighting all of these classic Mario enemies. The way they pulled off this scene was super satisfying. They even defeat Wart by making him choke on a turnip, which was really funny. I do think it would have been cool if Yoshi and Birdo somehow had a scene together, but it probably would have been a bit rushed for this movie at least. There's always future movies. Now, can we take a moment to appreciate how awesome Star Fox's inclusion is? I love how he played a fun role in the movie without stealing too much focus from the plot. I know Nintendo said we may never get a Smash Bros. Movie, but it's not impossible, right? Either way, hearing Toad Belt do a barrel roll was peak fan service. I also gotta say, Glenn Powell did a fantastic job voicing Fox, and I hope we get to see him in a Star Fox movie someday. Shifting back to Mario stuff though, I thought the Fossil Falls segment worked a lot better than I thought it was going to. I was skeptical about a Mario Odyssey location showing up at this point in the movie. Don't get me wrong, Odyssey is my all-time favorite Mario game, but I wholeheartedly believe at this point in the movie, Galaxy should have full control over the plot. However, despite it being a location from Odyssey, it didn't feel like it. I really liked how this segment gave Yoshi his own chance to shine in a Yoshi's Island inspired chase scene where he has to rescue all the baby characters from the dinosaur. Sure, it would have been nice if it was set in a Galaxy location instead, but I'm not complaining because I think the scene gave us the Yoshi's Island segment we were all hoping for. It did feel a little forced cramming this part into the movie, but we all wanted to see something like this at some point anyway, so who am I to complain? Lastly, the climax of this movie was incredibly well done. The lead up to the final battle was super thrilling to watch, and the fight itself delivered in every way possible. It was so cool seeing it start with a recreation of the Bowser fight from the first Mario game where Mario steals one of Bowser's axes and cuts the bridge, plummeting him into lava. But we all know what happens when Bowser falls into lava, don't we? He comes back as Dry Bowser. This took almost all of us by surprise. I think we were all expecting them to recreate one of the Bowser fights from the Galaxy games, and while I think that still would have worked, I think this was far better. It's a really cool callback to New Super Mario Bros. On the DS, where Bowser and Bowser Jr. fight Mario together for the first time. In the past, they would only fight him separately. And of course, Bowser Jr.'s design for this fight, taking inspiration from Fury Bowser, was incredible. My only complaint is that I thought Dry Bowser looked a tiny bit goofy, but maybe that's just me. Regardless, the final fight was absolutely amazing. I loved the selection of power-ups the heroes wielded during this fight as well. Luigi going for the Cloud Flower was an excellent choice, Yoshi going for the Blimp Fruit was quite comical, and I thought Nintendo choosing the Drill Mushroom over the Plain Drill from Galaxy 2 made a lot of sense. It would have looked weird if Mario was just carrying a drill around for this fight. Also, I absolutely died when Luigi stole Bowser Jr.'s paintbrush and painted Mr. Game & Watch into existence, who also destroys Dry Bowser. Of course, the final moments where Bowser Jr. paints the dragon from Mario Odyssey only for it to turn on him and eat him were really cool. I'm so glad Nintendo gave the Red Star a chance to shine for this moment. It's such a cool power-up that deserved far more than what Galaxy gave it. With Planet Bowser destroyed, peace is restored. There's a million more thoughts I could share about this movie, but we would literally be here for hours. Like I said, I'm assuming you've seen the movie, so any Easter eggs or moments I either forgot to mention or didn't think were relevant enough to mention, I'm guessing you probably noticed them yourself. And if you didn't, there's always videos that focus on only recaps and Easter eggs that I'd highly encourage you go watch. Before we move on to more details, I wanted to evaluate some of the predictions we made earlier about this movie. We'll start with a few things we got right. Besides some of the obvious plot lines and characters that play a big role in Galaxy, some of our predictions were pretty accurate. The first of which was that the Toast Arena Town scene would be the movie's opening scene. Well, not counting the movie's cold open between Rosalina and Bowser Jr. It made a lot of sense to jump right into the brothers finding Yoshi and get the plot moving right away. We were also right in predicting the present Mario was holding during the Star Festival was in fact a gift for Peach. Some of you even doubled down on this by predicting it was Peach's parasol. The last major prediction we got right was predicting that Bowser Jr. was the one who turned Mario and Luigi into babies in the Fossil Falls segment. In fairness, I thought it was more likely to be Kamek, but many of you believed it was Bowser Jr., so props to you guys for being right. In terms of some things I got wrong, I was wrong in assuming Rosalina would be a mentor figure to Mario. I think a lot of us were surprised to see Rosalina being the one captured in this movie. I think it was a cool way to shake up the plot, but I also think it led to Rosalina feeling more like a plot device. The next thing I got wrong was assuming the final battle would recreate the Bowser boss from Galaxy 1 or 2 and end with the black hole scene from the first game. I think Nintendo made the right call not doing this, cause it would have been a very confusing end to the movie for casual fans. I like that they took inspiration from the original New Super Mario Bros. By having the two Bowsers team up the way they did in that game. That game was the first time the two joined forces in the same battle, so I thought adapting that was a pleasant surprise. Lastly, I was wrong in my post-credit scene prediction being a Wonder Flower, but getting Daisy was far more exciting. We'll touch on this scene a bit more later. First, I want to touch on some of the character dynamics. I felt all the characters were lively as ever. All our returning characters maintained their colorful personalities, which was awesome to see. The only character I'm still not a big fan of is our main character Mario. Maybe it's just me, but I feel like Chris Pratt's portrayal was even worse this time around. He played Mario like a grim superhero, but that's not at all who Mario is. Before I go on this tangent, please know that I don't know really anything about Chris Pratt as a person. I'm not trying to attack him by saying any of this. If anything, I'm attacking Nintendo for letting him portray Mario the way he does. In the first movie, I was willing to try and accept Chris Pratt's Mario. I wasn't a fan of it, but I understand that going with a Brooklyn accent for Mario would make him easier to understand. I would have much preferred a toned down version of his normal voice, but it is what it is. At least Mario came off genuinely amazed by the new world he was exploring in the first movie. In this movie, he seems more like he's tired of everything. He doesn't want to be here. Don't get me wrong, if I were Mario and I had to save the world for the 100th time, I'd be pretty annoyed, but that isn't the kind of character Mario is. He's excited by new adventures, and Chris Pratt just doesn't portray that key part of Mario's personality. Mario seems angry and annoyed throughout a movie adapting one of his most incredible adventures. Thankfully, our new characters were much more appealing. Donald Glover's portrayal of Yoshi was absolute perfection. Yoshi isn't an easy character to play given how he only communicates through minor noises or saying his name like a Pokemon. Donald Glover did an amazing job with this. Yoshi was absolutely hilarious and adorable in this movie. His character was everything I would have wanted. His personality also paired well with Luigi's goofiness, which was awesome. Moving on to Bowser Jr., he was also a great addition to the cast. He had some good comedic lines and had a great impact on the plot. I felt like he was a little more serious than I would have liked, but it wasn't that big of a deal. If I'm being honest, I'm still trying to get used to Benny Safdie's voice as Bowser Jr. I wouldn't say it's bad, it's just different from what we're used to. Maybe this is just me, but I feel like Junior's voice changed a bit from scene to scene depending on the context. Certain times, like when he was talking to Bowser, he felt like a regular bratty kid, but when he was fighting Mario and co, he'd suddenly sound really dark and angry. I'm sure this was just a character choice Benny Safdie made, and I don't hate it, but again, Bowser Jr. has such an iconic voice in the games that it can be hard to get used to a different voice for him. Overall, I think Benny Safdie had a good portrayal of Bowser Jr. Although there's no way in hell I'm getting used to Junior's bloodshot eyes. Those will never look right to me. Lastly, despite not being utilized to her full potential, I thought Rosalina still managed to be a very cool character as she is in the games. Brie Larson brought the character to life in such a great way. She was kind and caring with her friends in the Lumas, but an absolute badass when fighting her foes. Like I said, I feel like Rosalina wasn't in much of the movie, which is one of my only major complaints. I understand having Bowser Jr. capture her from a plot standpoint, but I felt we could have had a few more scenes between the two characters. Rosalina just feels too much like an afterthought here. But I will say, I think making Peach and Rosalina sisters was a really cool idea. It's kinda crazy how Nintendo teased this reveal ever since the first movie. In the flashback scene, baby Peach is wearing a nightgown that literally has stars on it. Even when Mario says to Peach that maybe she's from his world being Brooklyn, she dismisses it by saying, "There's a lot of galaxies out there." I'm sorry, but I love this foreshadowing. I'm surprised a lot of us didn't pick up on it sooner. I think it's awesome that this movie focused on expanding Peach and Rosalina's backstories. The first movie could have just had Peach wander through the same pipe Mario did and not elaborate on her backstory, but this is much more satisfying. The next thing I wanted to talk about real quick was this movie's soundtrack. I won't go on about it too much, but it is something worth mentioning. Brian Tyler once again did a phenomenal job bringing Mario tracks to the big screen. Hearing all the iconic motifs from Galaxy was thrilling for my nerdy self. Having Gusty Garden worked into the score in so many ways was absolutely surreal. And I was overjoyed with the way Bowser's Star Reactor was remade during the Planet Bowser segment of the movie. All the music was recreated so faithfully and implemented so brilliantly. I just wish we had longer remixes. I understand a full remix of particular Galaxy songs would take up way too much runtime, but I would kill to have a full cinematic score of the entire Galaxy soundtrack. Regardless, Brian Tyler once again cooked with this. With so many aspects of this movie being just as good as the first, which one is better? I've been asking myself this question for a while now, and it's really tough to make up my mind. I'd say the Galaxy movie exceeds the first one when it comes to the setting. Obviously, outer space opens up infinite possibilities. The first movie was incredibly detailed with its locations, but Galaxy still manages to knock it out of the park here. I'd also say Galaxy improves on the level of action, especially in the final battle. I'd say the first movie had a great amount of action, but Galaxy easily tops its predecessor. The final fight was amazing to watch with so many twists and turns. However, despite all this, I'd still say the first movie was better by a sliver. The first movie had the benefit of not being tailored to a specific game. This allowed it to hit all the major iconic areas in the Mario franchise. Don't get me wrong, basing a movie around Galaxy worked out brilliantly and made perfect sense for a sequel, but the freedom the first movie had can't be matched. When I reviewed the first movie, I gave it a perfect score of 10 out of 10, and I stand by that. I wouldn't have changed a thing about the first movie. It was absolute perfection, and it still is to this day. While there's very few things I would change about the Galaxy movie, there was some room for improvement. Mainly, I thought Rosalina should have been in more scenes. She could have retained the same role she had, but just had some more dialogue to make her character feel more important. I also thought the power-ups could have been used a bit more. The final fight felt very cool because all the heroes used iconic Galaxy power-ups, but the other Galaxy power-ups were barely used in the rest of the movie. The Fire Flower and Ice Flower had minor moments to shine in this movie's first few minutes, but why not show off the Bee Mushroom and Honey Hive Galaxy? They could have also taken advantage of more of the Yoshi fruits from Galaxy 2. For example, they could have used the Dash Pepper in the Fossil Falls chase scene. I didn't think any of these issues were that bad. They're just very minor things I would have done a bit differently. Regardless, this movie couldn't have been a better retelling of the Galaxy games. It was filled to the brim with cool references and fun surprises. Overall, I thought it was a very solid 9 out of 10. Aside from those few things I mentioned, I wouldn't have done anything differently. Before we wrap up, I want to talk about what we can expect from future Mario movies. I think the third installment in the Mario movie franchise can go in one of two directions. I'm assuming Nintendo's gonna follow the same pattern of basing each installment on a specific game. I mean, it'd be weird if the movies went the Super Mario Bros. Movie to the Super Mario Galaxy movie, back to the Super Mario Bros. Movie 3. Since Daisy is confirmed to be in the next movie, that means it's almost definitely going to be based on one of two games. The first of which being Super Mario Land. If Nintendo decided to go this route, they could also introduce Wario and Waluigi as the villains in the third movie. Maybe the reason Daisy's in Gateway Galaxy in the post-credit scene is because she's trying to get Mario's help saving Sarasa Land from the Wario brothers. It's possible that in the movie universe, Sarasa Land isn't on the same planet as the Mushroom Kingdom. However, I actually don't think this is the game the next movie will be based on. Both Mario Land games are pretty bite-sized. Sure, they could expand on them however they'd like, but aside from introducing Daisy, Wario, and Waluigi, there wouldn't be much for fans to look forward to. Mario Land just doesn't have that big of a following. It doesn't draw nearly as much attention as the Galaxy games would. Ultimately, it'd feel like a step back from the Galaxy movie. The game that I think is much more likely to be the focus in the third Mario movie is Super Mario Bros. Wonder. This was one of my initial predictions back when the Galaxy movie was first announced. I even predicted that the post-credit scene would feature a Wonder Flower to tease the next movie. But I think Daisy was the right call since it's much more exciting than a Wonder Flower and creates more mystery about what the third movie will be about. Nintendo's been pushing Mario Wonder a lot lately, with Talking Flower being everywhere, the Switch 2 edition coming out a few weeks ago, and even Bowser Jr.'s Wonder form being in this movie. Mario Wonder would make a great movie. Pretty much every character from the Galaxy movie can return since they're all in Wonder. It'd even give Rosalina more time to shine. Her and Peach would also get more screen time together. The only issues with Wonder's character roster is that they probably have to use the movie Toad to replace Yellow and Blue Toad, and they probably need to cut the other Yoshi variants. But that's not too big of a deal. A Mario Wonder movie would allow them to introduce Daisy, Toadette who was initially planned for the first movie, and even Nabbit if they wanted to. I doubt he'd be a hero like he is in Wonder, but that's totally okay. Prince Florian would also be a new character, but he'd likely only appear in this movie. In addition to these new heroes, they could also introduce the Koopalings. Maybe that could be how Bowser and Bowser Jr. get freed from prison. And since the Koopalings aren't Bowser's biological kids, maybe their backstory could be something like they were Bowser Jr.'s friends from boarding school. Now, I'd also be fine with the Koopalings not being in the next movie, mainly because it'd be hard to give them all the right amount of screen time, but it's still an option. Regardless, Mario Wonder feels like a natural next step for the movies. The Wonder effects would be super funny to see in a movie, and the possibilities for the plot are endless. The only mystery I don't think we're fully able to crack yet is why Daisy's in Gateway Galaxy. My personal theory is that she's headed to the Mushroom Kingdom from either Sarasa Land or the Flower Kingdom for an unknown reason. I guess we'll just have to wait to find out. I do think her and Luigi will be having a similar plotline Mario and Peach did in this movie as well. My prediction for this movie's post-credit scene would either be setting up a spin-off movie like Luigi's Mansion or Donkey Kong, or teasing Wario and Waluigi as the villains in the fourth movie. I know people are eager to see these two in action. Believe me, I am too. But when they do eventually make it to the big screen, I want them to be the main focus. I don't want them to be some random side villains, I want them to drive the plot forward. This is kind of wishful thinking, but maybe they'll play a role in the next mainline Mario game, and that's the game the fourth movie will be based on. It's a long shot, but still. Whatever Nintendo and Illumination have planned, I have faith that it's going to be peak. Thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed, please consider subscribing as it really means a lot to me. Take care.